Did you know that most job decisions are made in the first 5 minutes of an interview? How do you ace it? How do you convince someone in 5 minutes that you're the best fit for that role? And that's what I'll be talking about in today's video. So please like, subscribe, and stay tuned to the end because I'll be sharing some important tips that you do not want to miss out on. So in today's video, I'll be talking about prepping for your interview because I got some emails because they had some UN internships and I beg your pardon, some UN interviews and assessments, internship interviews and assessments. And so I thought to make the video just to help other people that may not be able to reach out to me as well to on preparing for interviews in general, not just the UN, but yeah, because of course it's UN I'm more familiar with, so I would say UN. So let's get right into it. Now, if you're preparing for an interview, the whole job application process, it helps to have a tracker. And I know you're wondering, a tracker, why? Because if you're applying to okay, for someone like me, if I'm looking for roles, I'm not just going to bank on one role, I'm applying to roles. So a tracker helps you because you have the pre-interview preparation, interview preparation, and the post-interview preparation, and I'll explain all of these stages. And so this tracker helps you keep track of the general interviews, the job applications you've made. So if you're interested in getting, it's my personal tracker, and you can tweak it so it works for you better. But if you're interested in getting that, you can comment in the comment section below or drop your email in the comment section below and I'll send that across to you. What do I mean by 3 stages of interview? So you have the pre-interview stage, like I said. Pre-interview stage is where you prepare yourself for the interview, generally speaking. Now, in the pre-interview stage, you are searching everything there is to know about the organization. So if you have a UN internship, while it may be helpful to go onto the UN site and check for, UN, what the United Nations is about, it was founded in what year, what are the responsibilities, the Secretary General of the UN, and all of that may be helpful. But you're applying to most UN internships are from UN agencies. Every United Nations department has a responsibility, has what programs they are focusing on. So it will be helpful to go to that particular UN organization entity and search for what the organization is about. So you need to know if it's UNFO, know what UNFO is about. If it's UNFAO HR department that's hiring, check for UNFAO. Of course, you read up about what the UNFAO is about, so you know what they do and what they do not do, so you know what to expect. The general overview of the UNFAO, and then you can also search for the HR department to see some of the projects. Usually, it would be on their site. You can check up for some of the projects they are working on. It would help you understand, okay, this is where they are at. So when they ask how you're a good fit during the interview, it helps you by saying, oh, I saw this project and I think I can fit into, oh, I did something similar in my dissertation, in my thesis, or I've worked on something like this before and I think it can be better handled this way, or I like the direction of this, and stuff like that. So preparation really helps. Another thing to do is practice. I know that this sounds like practice what, like am I dancing or what? You need to practice because there are questions that you are obviously going to be asked. There are outcomes that you can control. So why not make sure that you are 100% in the outcomes you can control? For example, they are definitely going to ask you about yourself in one way or another. They may ask you about your weaknesses, about your strength. They may ask you to walk them through your CV. They may ask you to introduce yourself. After they've introduced themselves, they might ask you to talk about where you are at currently, and or they might just ask you, questions about yourself. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. So you need to have you need to practice some possible interview questions. There are YouTube videos on this. You can check them out, apply to as many, I beg your pardon, practice with them. Practice, practice, practice. I would say this practice helps you because sometimes you go into the interview thinking you're all confident, and then you see it's like a panel or it's 4 or 5 people. And for some people, it can be intimidating. Sometimes you just lose, you don't know what to say. You have what to say, but to say it out sometimes too can be, a problem. So I would advise practice. Practice would help you because in the end, when you get lost for words, what you've practiced will always come back to you. And also, if your English isn't very, if you're having the interview in English and you're supposed to be working in English, you haven't really polished up your English, the practice would help you a lot. It would help you because you can check for words, some words. That's why I say research again, because they may have some keywords. For example, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But for some organizations, it might be diversity, equality, and inclusion, not equity. So know some of the words that are in the organization. That is why research and practice would help you a lot. So if you do that, you know how you fit into that organization, and whatever question you are asked around that, you'll be able to wing it. You'll be able to answer it without you know without any issues. So yeah, I would advise that you practice, 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 practice as much as you can. And another thing to note for the pre-interview is that what are you wearing for the interview? It sounds crazy, but don't wait till the day of the interview to figure out what you're going to wear for the interview, because you may be surprised. So if you have a shirt you have in mind that you're going to wear for the interview, make sure it's prepped. Now for the interview stage, finish with the pre-interview. So you have your tracker, you have your you've researched, you've practiced, and now you're getting ready for the interview. For the interview, if you're doing it in a virtual environment, you have to make sure it's in a quiet place. They would usually specify that. So let the people around you know. If you have family over, if you have friends over, let them know that you're having an interview. Another thing I would usually do is to lock my room door when I'm having interviews, regardless whether no one's at home or I'm the only one at home. I lock my door during interviews to avoid any form of distraction, because I don't. Yeah, it just helps me keep focused, because sometimes I'm like, oh, what if someone comes in, and that adds to my nervous state already. So I lock the door, close one door. Yeah. So yeah, so make sure your door is locked if it helps you. Maybe in general, it just helps your thinking too, because you don't have to be stressed on top of what you already have, top of the baggage you already have to deal with, like answering the questions. You already know that it's not something to worry about. So you can have your door locked, and make sure everyone knows that you would require them to be quiet for this amount of time. If it's 30 minutes, I let them know it's for 30 minutes, but sometimes the interviews can go over than that. So make sure that you let them know just the hour, if it's an hour plus, just in case, because yeah, to avoid that. Sometimes it's even below that timeline they give you. So, but just to be on the safe side, make sure people know that you have a serious meeting going on and you do not wish to be disturbed. So you have your virtual environment ready, you have your what you're wearing for the interview ready. Now the few hours leading up to that, practice would help. You can also get a glass of water and keep beside you. It is allowed. Yeah, just you can make it a clear glass so they see that it's water, not vodka. Of course, don't go drinking alcohol during an interview. And then for the interview itself, now I know it can be off-putting when like it's 3 4 people that are interviewing you, and they're like hi 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 hi, and you have to respond back, especially if you're someone that is introverted and shy. It's like, oh my gosh, I have to talk to 4 people. But it's important to be courteous. Remember that you are someone that spoke about being a team player. You also said you were customer friendly. You had some experience in customer service, or remember you said that. So if they say hi, even if you're nervous, straighten up your back and say hi as well, and try to give a bit of a smile. You mustn't all be all teeth, or you can just smile a bit, to be friendly as well, so they know that, oh, okay, this person is who she says, who he says he is. So if they say hi back, even if they don't say hi, which is weird. They would usually say hi. Just say hi. Make sure you say hi. If it's a physical contact, you can say hi with direct eye contact. It helps a lot. It's scary, but it helps a lot. Giving direct eye contact to the interview panel, it helps your confidence as well. Another thing to note is your posture and your intonation, your articulation of words. Your posture should be upright. It will help you whether virtually or in person. Being in an upright position helps you because it lets your brain know that you are being serious at this time and that something serious is happening. Shows your intonation. Now, I know that faking accents can be off-putting. I wouldn't advise to fake accents. I would advise, however, to pronounce your words well. You pronounce your words well, it would come out a bit slower than your usual talking tone, and it would also help you to those little gaps, those small gaps that you give in between that when you pronounce your words, because talking slowly would help you better present yourself. It comes off as being confident, and also it gives you time to think about some things to say. So if you're talking fast, you may run out of points. That is a no-brainer to pronounce your words well. If you try to pronounce your words well, you will find out that you end up talking a bit slower than you would usually do, and this in turn would help you. It helps, sometimes when you're talking, different words come to mind. If you're talking and it becomes a bit slower, it gives you at least 5 seconds, 2 seconds to think about what word to best use to avoid mistakes. So yeah, thing to note is during the interview, if you're asked a question that you do not have an answer for, it's not the end of the world. It's amazing sometimes how we think under pressure. There are a few tips and tricks you can use for that. For me, I would usually say, I do say thank you for that question. I interject it oftentimes when I want to think, even when I know the answer to that question. I just have that. Think about it. You have 30 minutes to impress whoever it is that you're the right person, to convince them that you're the right person for that role. So I'm not going to waste up my 30 minutes knowing I could have done better. So sometimes when I'm asked a question that may be too wordy, that may require me to talk about a project which would take up maybe more time than necessary, I would say thank you for that question, and I'll go on to talk about it. Now, in that 2-3 seconds, I say thank you for that question. Immediately it helps me to structure my STAR technique, my situation, task, action, and result. Which, by the way, is another point. If you are asked a question on how you were able to, say for example, the time you faced a challenge at work. Now, using the STAR technique would help you. If you're answering, you go straight to thank you for that question, and then the situation, the task, and the action you carried out, and the result. The result, it went well, is a result, is a good result, a positive result, but you were, because of that, you were able to drive more sales to the company, or which led to an increase in about maybe 15% of the company's revenue. That's a clear result. That numbers would help you if you can put your facts into numbers, if there is space for that, or if you walk around that, if help a lot. So you use the STAR technique for situational questions, where you're asked to talk about a time you were faced with this challenge, or a time you had to do this and no one was there. How did you do that? Da, 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 da. So situation, task, action, and results will help you in that order. And lastly, in the interview, another important interview section most people wing is when the interviewer asks if you have a question for them. Now, that's the tricky part. Most people would say no because you're nervous. I get it, I understand it. I've done it a couple of times too. Sometimes I'm just not bothered. I know I should ask, but I'm like, nah. Sometimes in reality, you really have nothing to ask. Trust me. Sometimes, like, there's actually nothing to ask. But asking shows that you're interested and that you know your stuff. You can ask a question in a way that shows this person is knowledgeable on this. So asking questions helps to prove that you are knowledgeable on a given topic area. So if the interviewer asks if you have a question for him, you can ask. Obviously, you don't want to go about asking questions that are already in the job description, because that is like, okay, so why did you apply if you didn't even know that this is what is required of you? For the post interview section, it's mainly you just reaching out, So usually I would update my tracker, and on my tracker there are dates. So after about sometimes a week, sometimes I get to antsy and I'm sending out a follow-up email in a week. But sometimes the tracker, I leave it about 2 weeks or 3 weeks. For you and internships, can take a while, so your follow-up emails would help where you stand at least. So, but I would say if you haven't heard back in 2-3 weeks, it's fine to send a follow-up email. 1 week may be a bit too soon, but I do it anyway, so who am I to judge? And so that is it.